Hey Kyle, thanks for your response. I'm glad we're agreeing so much. Um, as far as the intersubjective construction of what we call the objective world, I agree with you there. And that the self, the individual person, is very much also a social construction, something that we share with each other, we build together. Um, the idea of these different um, tracks of psychological development, whether it's Kohlberg's moral theory or Piaget's cognitive theories. We really have to achieve personhood as we grow and develop as infants and children. Um, and that is clear. There's also, I think, a biological element here, which doesn't change the fact that it's essentially rooted in the second person, um, because all of our organisms, all of our bodies have evolved together. We're of the same species, but even on a planetary scale, um, the way that our bodies, our morphology has ended up, our behavior, our conscious experience, the way all this has developed is very much a product of the rest of the Earth community. All the other species, the climate, the you know geography, geology, and so forth. So we're all in this together. Humans are humans because dogs are dogs and cats are cats and dolphins are dolphins and birds are birds and trees are trees and so forth. It all goes together, and um, regardless of that, researching consciousness, I think what I was trying to do was just open the door to show that our subjective states are no more difficult to get a handle on as so-called objective states of affairs. They're both at a distance from our actual experience, which maybe you'll agree with me here, maybe you won't. We are more consciously, experientially, we are more um, on the level of a transactional relationship with others, not just other people, but other um, beings, other creatures in the world, than we are alone unto ourselves, completely cut off and private. Um, so that actually subjectivity is far more an intersubjective affair than we often like to admit. You can look at someone who may think that they're keeping their feelings and emotions and anxieties or whatever inside, but it's plain as day on their face, on their posture, on how they're behaving in the particular situation that they're in. You can't really hide these things from others. Um, so that's what I was trying to do, trying to show that we can get into um, the nitty gritty of consciousness just as much as we can anything else out there. So I'm glad we agree about that, and we'll explore that further. I'm sure. We're just scratching the surface of the potential there. Um, and you didn't emphasize it so much, but we should emphasize the biological component here of what it means to be an individual as well. The fact that we can develop into the social construction called person, is an affordance given to us by our biological history, by the collective unconscious, which is those just on a psychological level, our inheritance from past generations. That certainly it comes through genes, comes through epigenetic influences, maybe other means of inheritance we haven't really found and really researched much yet. Um, as far as pan-experientialism goes, that's my way of pointing out that I think modernity's the tragedy of modernity was that it, in a sense, by disenchanting the world, kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater. In other words, there is a degree to which people believing in demons and spirits and that trees have, spirits, and that the stars and the planets have very significant astrological meaning, and there's a degree to which this needs to be left in the past, but as we grow and develop through modernity and into post-modernity now, I think we can see the really tragic results of viewing nature, the world around us outside the human sphere, as dead, largely insentient, and meaningless, but for the meaning we give it. In other words, unless it is useful to humans, it's useless, it's purposeless, it doesn't matter. That is very destructive, and I think that's why we are having an ecological, social, political, you name it, crisis right now. And that we really do need to reappropriate a sense of the sacred in the natural world, and really it involves not erecting such a sharp boundary between human consciousness and natural being, the natural world. So pan-experientialism is just my way of opening that floodgate again, or maybe not a floodgate, maybe we can make it more of a controlled scenario now, where we're not saying that disease is the result of disembodied spirits possessing us or anything, but that we do recognize that, yeah, the trees, they do have a degree of sentience, they do have a presence in our lives, they do, we can relate to them on a very deep level. They're not just objects. The planets, you know, I'm still skeptical of this, and I don't know exactly how to introduce the idea, but Richard Tarnas, one of the professors at the graduate school I'm going to, he's written a book called Cosmos and Psyche, where he shows throughout history how various alignments of the planets have correlated with certain significant historical events. This is very much, you know, an experimental project that he's undertaking, and it's very easy to ridicule it right off the bat. I have read the book, though, and the evidence is there. As with any correlational study, there are other possibilities that you know, other researchers should check into and make sure that the correlations he has made aren't biased in some way or whatever, but the information is there. There's an attempt being made to bring astrology back into a respectable state, such that we view it in an archetypal way rather than a literally predictive way. But you know, I'm not trying to push this. I'm just throwing this out there as a possibility. It's just surrounding the general idea of viewing nature as sacred, as inherently meaningful, regardless of whether or not it's useful to human beings or not. And pan-experientialism is just my way of recognizing that the material world, the world we usually consider just a collection of objects, does have an inside. It does have its own perspective, in a sense. It does relate to us, and we are capable of relating to it on a deeper level than we usually give it credit for. So, you know, I know the astrology thing is probably not something that you're going to want to discuss much. I just do that in there as an example, but I'll leave it at that, and you know, we should definitely talk more about this second person stuff and how it might solve some problems that the first person, third person dichotomy was unable to solve. So I'll think more about it, and I know you will, and we'll see where we go. Take it easy.